Welcome to another episode of 10 Weather Chat. Today we're talking about one of those topics that is a main driver in our weather in general right now in East Tennessee, and that is the drought.
Yeah, those three words, East Tennessee drought. And you know what, it's kind of a bad news, good news maybe scenario. The bad news, major drought, worsening drought. Desperately need the rainfall. The good news part, hopefully we see a sign of a pattern change down the road. We've got a lot of different details that we'll get to talk about that, Cass.
Which is why we wanted to sit down and have this conversation today. There's just not enough time on TV to go in depth into these topics. So we wanted to sit down and kind of be able to explain this just a little bit more to you. So what you're seeing with that darker red color right there is exceptional drought. That is the worst level of drought that you can have, and that has now developed all the way up into West Knox County and southern Anderson County with the latest drought update.
Yeah, I mean, worsening drought conditions. Every week it comes out. The longer we go without, number one, without any rain, and number two, without any substantial rain. So it can rain a little bit, but it just simply doesn't help. We need substantial soaking rains to help this right here.
Yes, and this drought monitor takes into account not only the soil moisture and the lack of rain that we've been having, but also the dry vegetation that we've had as well. And this monitor, it cuts off Tuesday morning at about 8 a.m. And then it's released on Thursday morning at 8 a.m. So Tuesday is the cutoff for when we had this, and that's kind of how it counts. In addition to the drought, which is allowing fires to start all over the place right now, I also wanted to mention the smoke, because we've had a lot of folks asking questions when there's not a fire in their area, but they're concerned because they have a lot of smoke. And so an example of that is, this may be out of date by the time you watch this, but we have a large fire, the Black Bear Fire. Yeah, we hope this goes away. The Black Bear Fire in western North Carolina. It's at mile marker 3, so it's just over the North Carolina-Tennessee line. But look at where all the smoke is going. It's going into Cott County and Greene County.
Wow, look at that. I mean, it is. It's traveling all the way up into parts of upper East Tennessee. You know, unfortunately, cause of that, a tractor trailer wreck, sparked on the side of the road, and all of a sudden the hillside, the mountain's on fire, and it is spreading. Exactly, Cass. That's where a lot of that smoke is being transported to the north.
Yeah, and so that's what we just kind of wanted to emphasize, that if you do have smoke in your area, it's good to check with your local officials and see if there's actually a fire. Or maybe, unfortunately, you're just getting the impacts from a fire that's off in the distance, and hopefully you're not actually in danger of any kind. Now, how did we get here? Well, it's been a stubborn pattern that we've had. Todd has always said the Gulf of Mexico is either open or closed for business, and it has been closed since September 1st.
It's got a closed for business sign, if you can imagine that. You know, we're hoping there are some signs that it will start to open up. We'll talk more about that potential, but I mean, look at that, from Louisiana right up into East Tennessee, severe to extreme to exceptional drought conditions, and that's been the pattern ever since September 1st.
And that's the path that normally our moisture would take. It would get drawn up from the Gulf of Mexico up across these exact states that are in the drought right now, and that's why we see that drought here, because the pattern has not followed what it normally would, and we haven't had that moisture transport.
Cassie, oh, the irony. That's normally our pattern of moisture. In this case, it's our pattern of drought.
And it shows we're not the only ones that are suffering from that because of this pattern. So we need to see some rain, just to kind of give you some perspective when we're talking about how bad this drought is. We've only had 1.07 inches, and this is again as of Friday afternoon when we're recording this. 1.07 inches. We are missing more than 7 inches of rain since September 1st.
I mean, it's amazing. I mean, and I know there's a third headline we're going to talk about here, but you know, our normal is 8¼ inches. That's what we should have.
Just since September 1st.
Just since September 1st for our fall months up till mid-November, and that's only 13% of normal. So Cassie, you have the third headline there.
This is by far the driest fall that we have had on record, including looking back to 2016. And so that's what I wanted to kind of give you a comparison here, because a lot of folks are thinking about that. We were both here in 2016. We remember how those fires were starting up all over the place through the whole fall season. And this is the worst drought that we have had since 7 years ago. This is the drought monitor from November 15th, 2016 versus our current one, November 14th, 2023. And while the drought was laid out differently, we have almost the exact same amount of exceptional drought. Just last time it was a little farther south in the valley. This time it's been extended all the way up into Knox County.
Yeah, just a different placement. But look at look at the expansive extreme drought in the bright color red. It's technically, I think we can both say safely, it's more expansive this year, 2023, compared to 2016. Just hitting home how dry it's been. I mean, literally going from a surplus of rainfall in the summer months to spigot totally shut off first part of September.
And so let's talk about how we got there in 2016 versus this year. So in 2016, the drought actually developed back in April, and we spent most of the summer with the drought worsening, getting better, but staying.
Right.
And then eventually we saw only 2 days of measurable rain from September 28th to November 18th.
Right.
So from the end of September all the way through mid-November, there were only 2 days of measurable rain, and that was during the month of October. That's how that drought got so bad. But remember, it had already developed earlier in the year.
Interesting. Longer duration type drought and dryness.
Yes.
But we're getting to the same place. There's more than one way to get there.
Yeah.
This one, shorter duration, but more intense.
Yeah, rapid onset
drought. We were thinking the same thing. That's what it started, right?
That's right. We had the 10th wettest summer, the 10th wettest August specifically.
Yeah.
And then we had the tied for the 5th driest September, the 11th driest October, and this fall, we've actually had more than a half an inch less rainfall since September 1st than we did in 2016. We've only had 13% of normal so far.
Yeah.
So this fall has actually been drier than 2016, and it happened faster, which is why I think these fires are able to start and spread so rapidly in this case, because there's absolutely no moisture in the ground or in any of the vegetation.
We talk a lot of times in weather, feast or famine, and you're going to see this played out here in the monthly rainfall totals. But we were feasting in the summer, surplus rainfall, and then to use that word, famine, weather-wise.
Yeah.
The drought conditions. Driest fall on record to date. That's very incredible.
Yeah, and like you said, the spigot shut off. Look at the difference between the 3 summer months and then what we've got going on for September, October, and November so far. Now, typically we would see more rainfall starting to develop later in the month of November and especially into December. We'll show you the average rainfall totals in just a minute.
Right.
But this is the latest seasonal drought outlook from the Climate Prediction Center.
Right.
This was actually released yesterday.
Right.
And it goes for the rest of November, December, January, and February.
Right.
Now, this has changed a little bit from their original seasonal outlook.
Right.
Where you see that lighter gray color right there, that shows where drought is going to remain, but it's going to start to improve.
Right.
Previously, it said drought goes away.
We were in this
removal.
shade a few weeks ago. Right.
Yeah.
Which was, drought removal likely, and that may happen for our neighbors to our east and south, but exactly, Cassie, we're now in the, it's going to remain longer, but improve.
Yeah.
We'll take that. Yes, and that is an update from just a few weeks ago.
Now, the Climate Prediction Center takes a lot of factors into account when they do these. I actually just was on a phone call yesterday, and it is extensive what they talk about when they look into all of these details. This may change with the next outlook that's going to come out on the 3rd Thursday of next month, but regardless,
it's a forecast based on expected rainfall and pattern changes, rainfall conditions coming our way.
And this is the normal rainfall per month throughout the year, the average rainfall. So July is typically our wettest month by the averages. October is typically our driest by the averages, but look at how much things start to go up in November and December after dry fall. And then especially into late winter and into spring, we typically have most of our rainfall.
We're heading into our wet and rainy season. We can see it coming. Even extended models are showing, and have been showing it for a little while, but showing some promise of pattern change, et cetera. We're going to get there, but the sooner the better that we can get into our rainy season in these wetter patterns, the better, because obviously we need it. And these short-term systems, they're going to help, but we need more frequency of these wet, rainy systems heading our way. So hopefully from late November into December, January, February, we'll be talking about a whole lot more moisture and drought removal maybe in time.
Hopefully, because we are going to see a pattern change as we go into next week. And I forgot to say, and I wanted to go ahead and add this little asterisk to what we've been talking about.
Go right ahead, Cass.
When we talk about 2016, this is the worst drought that we've had since then. And we are also having fires similar to like we had in 2016. But in no way, shape, or form are we trying to say there's going to be a catastrophe like the Gatlinburg wildfires in 2016. However, the conditions are present for fires to develop and get out of control quickly. That was a truly exceptional event that happened that year. The location of the fire, how long it was able to burn, and then 80 to 90 mile per hour winds blowing into a highly populated area. So that was an extreme, and as I said, exceptional event. Let's hope we don't see a repeat of anything like that, but that's why it's just so important to emphasize to folks, please don't do any outdoor burning until we start to see conditions improve.
That's it. That's why we're here, to give you information, to give you the knowledge, power, it's in your hands, in our control, to help be diligent, right? And to do our part, to not do any outdoor burning and wait till we get the much needed rainfall.
A lot of these fires that we're seeing are human caused, which means they were preventable. So please don't do it. As we go into early next week, so we've got a little bit of a rain chance tonight, Friday night. Not going to be a drought buster by any means.
Right.
By Tuesday, though, the pattern starts to shift next week. You're going to notice it in a lot of ways, in the temperatures, but also in the potential rainfall. We've said the Gulf has been closed for business, but the way this trough is going to dig down, it's going to start to tap into some of that Gulf of Mexico moisture.
New sign.
New sign. Maybe reopening?
Maybe reopening soon. Yeah.
Question mark?
Pick your side. Yeah, question mark, exactly. That trough we need in the Plain States, and it's a total different configuration orientation of the jet stream because we've had a ridge over us for a long time. So the further back to our west we see that trough, as Cassie said, that Gulf of Mexico moisture can be transported northward. That's exactly what we need. So what's interesting, maybe we'll get a good rainfall system followed by some perhaps really chilly air. And then, Thanksgiving and beyond.
And then another system, this is for Friday of next week. So this is a week from today.
Yeah, go on, Cassie, go on.
And let's look at this. Now we, again, follow the lines, see how they come straight up from the Gulf of Mexico into East Tennessee. That would pull in the moisture. And then I can't show you anything further because this is as far out as it goes. But
let's pretend here.
Pretend. Imagine this doing that. So we're just going to see a shift in the pattern as far as rainfall over the next 7 days. Now remember, this is 7 days.
Right.
So this is not all coming at once.
Right.
But this is good news. See all that blue? That's in the 1 inch category. If we could get an inch of rain in the next 7 days, that would certainly put a dent in at least the dry conditions that we have and hopefully take down that fire danger.
Absolutely. I mean, 1 inch would seem like 6 inches, or pick a number, right? Because it's been
significant.
so dry, it'd be significant. I mean, it'd be so dry. We're just hoping right now for more than a quarter to a half inch of rain with any system, something that's decent.
More than a sprinkle.
More than a sprinkle. So that would be very good news. And what do we have here, Cassie?
And then as we mentioned, coming along with the pattern change, besides the potential better chances of rain, we also have a big cool down coming. Now I want to show you, this is from the Climate Prediction Center. This does not tell you how cold the temperatures are going to be. It shows you the confidence that we will be.
Right.
And this is for around that Thanksgiving time frame going into the following weekend.
Right.
Our average highs by then are in about the mid-50s.
Mid-50s, right.
Or so. So we would be cooler than that for our afternoon highs if this materializes. So we go from running, right now, I haven't told you this yet, 4.3 degrees above average for the month of November.
Not surprised, wow.
So the first half of November has been extremely warm. We've been near or tying records many days. We could completely flip to the opposite side of things and now go back below average starting next week.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, and you know East Tennessee weather. If it's been one way for a while, a lot of times, wham, you want to go the other way. So, we'll see how that goes. But the other thing that's good about the cool temperatures with the moisture, that helps it goes a longer way. It helps to settle into the ground. The air is more moist. You know, when it's warm, you have higher evaporation rates. So when it's cooler, lower evaporation rates, and that moisture is better served and goes a longer way for us.
And when it rains, it stays in the ground and in the vegetations for a second, as opposed to just evaporating right back out when it's so hot and it's so sunny. So the reason, again, we wanted to do this update for you was to explain the drought conditions, talk about the comparison to 2016, and then tell you that it looks like there might be a light at the end of the tunnel from a standpoint of at least our conversation will be shifting in a new direction. Instead of things maybe getting worse, hopefully we can start to see some improvement.
Yeah, light at the end of the tunnel, and it's not a train. If you heard that say right. We're looking forward to a pattern change in rain showers. Hey, thank you for joining us. Really enjoyed doing these segments.
I know, so much fun. We'll have to do more of them, I guess. Thanks for tuning in, everybody.
All righty.